Welcome to Third Shot Podcast, where we get to share our love for the game with all of you wonderful people. So, thank you for joining us again. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Third Shot Podcast. You can also check us out. Well, actually, X is now Third Shot Pod. So, cut off the cast. Third Shot Pod on X. You can also view us on YouTube. You can see our beautiful faces at Third Shot Podcast. You can also go to our website, thirdshotpodcast.com. And we are ready for our first shot. Uncle Greg,
I love it. All right.
We are ready to dive right in with this.
Cheers. When you cut off the cast, I thought about my broken arm, but yeah.
By the way, I'm going to go ahead and say, when the things appear, it still says Twitter, and it's got the little Twitter logo because they don't really have much of the X logo out. So it's going to say that for a little while, and maybe just Elon will just turn it back. Who knows?
Yeah, Elon's not going to be happy, but if he reaches out to us, we'll talk to him about it. So Elon, if you're listening,
yeah, join the show. Why not?
Elon plays pickleball, I hear.
I think he has his own court. I think he has a court set up somewhere. Yeah. Probably in some of the empty offices there at Twitter.
Or in outer space, maybe.
Or in outer space. Yeah, who knows? Yeah. So you guys, I feel like I just talked to you, but kind of in a whole different way. There was a live tournament. You guys were together. And you were out at the tournament. We did a little live show. I guess we should probably link to that so that people can go check out the whole live video. But so cool. Like, how was the tournament? Like, how did it all go? Like, you had the two Gregs playing. Everything was happening. Tell me about the tournament.
It was such a good time. I'm missing my co-host Uncle Greg next to me this week.
Yeah, right. There was that too on the last show.
I still get to see him, so that's great. But the tournament was so fun. This was our first PPA event, and now I think we will be signing up for more. It was great. Being able to play at the same venue as the pros were playing, I felt,
it was a little bit surreal because there was one moment, Brigie, and I don't even know if you realized it or not, but somebody that we were playing against hit the ball past us and it bounced over the divider fence into the next court that was behind us. And this woman caught it and she handed it back to me, and I looked at her and go, "Oh my gosh, I've seen you play. You were in the finals 2 weeks ago at the other PPA event." I'm like, it was one of those moments where I had to refocus on our match because I got starstruck for a moment. Like, why is she playing next to us like that? But that's the coolness of PPA is you're playing right next to the best.
Yeah. Well, I showing some of the video just because it was so cool that it was like I got to experience kind of what you guys were running through. You walked through all the different areas, and I just missed the little the main venue there, but very cool. And you got to talk to a bunch of people and all that. But you sort of left me hanging a little bit because I didn't know the finales. Like we don't know what happened. So who played with who and how did that all go?
Yes, great question. I wish I had better news to deliver to you.
What? Well, don't be sad about this. No.
Okay, let's start with the Greg show because they really performed with one another, and I thought that they did a fantastic job. So big round of applause to Uncle Greg and Pickle or Die Greg because they took the gold medal.
Nice.
Yes.
Very cool.
Thank you.
They did fantastic.
It was an amazing experience. And when you said the Greg and Greg show, I'm thinking like cabaret or something. Like we were doing a little dance, and it kind of felt like that at times. We were doing a little dance with our pickleball paddles, and for people that don't know Pickle or Die Greg, he's a big guy. Like he's as they say, he's sturdy, right? So it was great that I got to play with him because he was my enforcer. Like everybody looked at him and they're like, "Oh my gosh, don't mess with." There he is, Pickler Diagram.
Yeah.
All the people that are on YouTube right now, and that doesn't even do him justice. He's a very strong gentleman, very intimidating, super nice guy. I mean, he is just a big teddy bear. But for people that don't know him, like they're scared. I think we gained like 5 points just because they're intimidated. I love it.
Nice.
When we're doing the introductions, I kind of stand behind them, so it's like the human eclipse. So nobody
Right.
sees how small I am, so they don't aim at me, and they just go, they get scared
Right.
by him. But it worked.
Yeah.
But it worked.
Okay.
So that was on Saturday. We were, we landed up getting gold, so that was really nice. And then Sunday, Brigie and I got to make our PPA debut in mixed doubles. We were so pumped up. We were practicing. We were dressed in our Third Shot podcast sweatshirts and t-shirts. We were ready to go. And
We
then
were.
our first
Then
match.
you went.
We had the most unlucky draw ever where the team that landed up winning it all, we had in the first match. We took them to 3 games. We took them
Nice.
all. We were their toughest competition. We took them to 3 games, but they got us. They got us in the third game, and they deserved to win. They were a very good team. So we went to the losers bracket. And Brigie, we have nothing to be ashamed of. We battled.
We did. We played our hearts out. I took a tumble at one point, diving for a ball, so that was exciting. Got a little got a little warrior mark on my knee now, but it was so fun.
You played like the next 5 matches with this huge knot in your leg.
Wow.
Like the thing was visible. You could see this knot in her leg,
and it wasn't even worth it because I hit the net, and so it was a fault. And so I kept the win, but because I hit the net. Yeah.
Wow.
Tragic.
It was tragic.
But the fun part.
We battled all the way back to the bronze medal match, which is the best you can do after going to the losers bracket. Blah blah blah. Anyway, we made it to the bronze medal match, and we fought hard, but we came up just a little bit short.
Oh.
Yes.
So
but we also got to play against Pickle or Die Greg and my typical women's partner, Kayla.
Right.
And as Uncle was saying, Greg is a tall man, and Kayla is like, she's shorter than I am. She's probably like 4'11", 5 foot, maybe, with her tennis shoes on. So the height difference was so cute, and they were dressed the same down to the shorts.
Nice.
There she is.
Nice. There we go.
And they played great together too, for never playing with one another. I was so proud of them.
They did,
and we got to
really
play against them. It was so fun. That was our funnest match, I think, that we had.
They both they're dressed alike. There you go.
So Brigie, I know we're running out of time before we get to our guests, but I got to ask you, how did you feel playing against one of your best friends and playing against Pickle or Die Greg, who we've become really good friends with? How did you feel playing against them?
Going into it, I was a little bit nervous because I had never played against Kayla in any sport, like competitively. Like we'll practice pickleball with each other and play against one another, but we're always on the same team. So to be against her, I was like, oh shoot, like I don't even know what to be thinking right now. I don't want to beat her because she's my buddy, but also I don't want to lose because she's my buddy. So it was just fun though. And after that match, I was thinking, oh man, I wish both the Gregs lived in Las Vegas so that we could all play with each other more often, because it was a good time.
Yeah, it was really good times.
Awesome. Well, I wish I was there. It was like I was there virtually, but then I didn't get the updates.
Next time,
and
Russ,
now I see why. Yes, next time.
It was really good reflecting, and I'm wearing my PPA shirt that I got.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
See that for people that are on YouTube. You can see my PPA shirt. Very fun times. I would highly encourage anybody that has not played a PPA event, check it out. It is so much fun. It is a really cool experience. I mean, literally, Brigie, me, Greg, we're all sitting in the shade, relaxing. and right next to us is Elise Jones. I mean, it's just like stuff like that, and you're like, "Hey, Elise, hey, Greg," it's like
That's cool.
Now they're
it's,
best friends.
it's good times. I got to take pictures with some of my, my pickleball idols. It's a great experience. Go check it out if you get a chance to do it.
Nice.
But with all that, I need to go pour another shot because we got a guest coming up, and I know second shot's coming up, and I didn't prepare. I need to go pour a second shot. So give me a quick break.
All right, we'll do that.
All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Third Shot. How's everybody doing? We really appreciate all the support that you guys have been giving us. I've been looking at the numbers lately, and it's going off the charts. So thank you so much for all the support. Keep following us on the social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. X. Sorry. I didn't mean to say the Twitter. X. And especially YouTube. All of our shows now are on YouTube. So please check us out, Third Shot Podcast, on all of those. And we are super excited. Trust me, we've been working on this interview for a long time, but we have Justin Farid. He is the owner of ProBand Sports. Justin, welcome to the show.
Greg, Brigie, it's amazing. We finally got it to happen. I'm thrilled to be on. I appreciate you inviting me back.
We are super excited to have you on the show. And I think this calls for a shot. We have to toast to finally getting to have this great conversation.
You got it.
Cheers to you guys.
Cheers.
Ooh, that feels good tonight.
Mine's less of a shot, more of a drink.
What are you drinking, Brigie?
So this is some organic berry and beet juice.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Justin?
It's not alcoholic, but it's supposed to be good for me. So
I think Justin and I will make up for you. What are you drinking,
Yeah,
Justin?
you guys can cover that.
So I've got sake, and I've got 3 shots in 1 glass so that we could get this triple shot going.
Oh, I love it. And then I brought out some little Woodford Reserve for tonight. So
That looks
there you
fancy.
Go. Yeah.
Which I definitely approve of.
Justin endorsed right there.
There you go.
That's awesome. Well, like I said, we're very happy to have you on the show. We have heard a lot about your father's research and his development with this great product, but can you share with the rest of us, how did this company get started and all of the ins and outs of ProBand Sports?
Well, yeah, absolutely. So my father, now retired, was one of the top sports orthopedic surgeons. He was a consultant for the Davis Cup team. But, really understanding his philosophy on treating his patients is really important to how he came to invent and develop the different products we have at ProBand. He, served in the Army, was stationed down in Panama during Vietnam, and didn't have a lot of modalities or equipment to be able to triage and evaluate, what was going on with people. So he had to learn by hearing from the people he was treating, what kind of pain or sensations are they having. And he really took this approach and took it a long way. He really had to evaluate people with his eyes, his hands, and it caused him to have to think outside of the box when treating people. And fast forward a few decades, he established his own practice in Santa Barbara, California, and was working with a ton of athletes. And when it came to the first generation Bandit, the ProBand Bandit, it was actually for a patient that was sent up for a second opinion to see him, who was about to undergo surgery on his wrist for, at that time, carpal tunnel syndrome. My father discovered that the origin and the genesis of that problem was actually coming from up higher on the forearm, closer to the elbow. And so I remember as a kid, probably 2 or 3 years old at this time, but I still do remember this very, very, accurately. He got a plaster mold that he had made, got a plastic sheet and a heat gun, and he made his very first prototype with 2 dual anatomic plates in the garage. Just put some neoprene padding on it, got some straps, and put it on Pete's arm to see if it would be helpful for him. And it was. Pete ended up not having to have the surgery. He was out playing 2 weeks later, and went on his run to continue winning Grand Slams. And so he got patents on his devices.
I got to interrupt real quick, Justin.
Yeah,
The Pete you're referring to is Pete Sampras, right?
that's right. Yeah.
This is Pete Sampras we're talking about, one of the best tennis players of all time. And your dad, with this sample product that this prototype product, actually got him to win a tournament.
Well, I think it was Pete's resilience, competitive nature, and unrelenting desire to be great that really did that. We were really just there to help him along the way and keep him out of the operating room. And that's where the tagline we came up with for the company, "You bring the talent, we bring the relief," really emanates from. So he went on to improve upon his initial invention, coming to what we now know being the mainstream Bandit. And Greg, what you now wear is our second generation product, the Bandit XM. And I think you had told me you're also wearing our Needed XM, which is our second generation Needed, which I played pickleball with my wife on Sunday. I wore only the Bandit XM on my forearm. I didn't have that Needed on. And I swear that evening I was feeling inflammation right underneath my kneecap. And I was like, man, I don't know why I didn't wear that. I bet we look like twins out there, Greg, when we're playing pickleball. Do you wear the right forearm, right knee?
I wear it. Actually, I switch knees. Sometimes I wear right knee. Sometimes I wear left knee. I do have a question about the knee thing.
Sure.
So both my knees kind of hurt equally, or strain equally. And it doesn't matter which knee I put it on. It helps both knees at the same time.
That's amazing. And I have to say, Greg, that's actually kind of uncommon, because as you wear specifically the knee products, they begin to mold to the contours of your knee, giving you a custom like fit. So we actually recommend that if you're going to wear it on both knees, designate one for each knee. You'll end up finding even greater efficacy because it molds to those contours, and it really cups the patella to do patella tracking and to decompress the knee, so you're not putting so much force into the joint there. So I'll have to send you a second one. And what I do is I just kind of carve out a little L to indicate that this one goes on my left knee, and if it doesn't have that on the plastic plate in front, then I know that one's the one for my right knee. So we'll get you a second one now that I know that you have to wear it for both.
I have to wear
covered in those things.
Yeah, exactly. And people probably would think we're twins if I had like 6 more inches on my biceps.
Hey, I appreciate that. I just got back into the gym recently. As you know, I had a little health dilemma with my spine from, I have to imagine it was probably from the years of me playing football. But as someone who loves being active, who loves the game of pickleball for everything that it offers, keeping you in shape, having a great community to interact with and compete with, it's tough being horizontal for any length of time. And in any event, I'm grateful nonetheless that I'm back on the mend, able to get back in the weight room and train a little bit.
We're happy to hear that. Yeah, it's really great that you're doing better. And like you said, pickleball is a great game to get you out there, but we got to get you back on the court.
That's exactly right. Well, I played for the first time in several months on Sunday with my wife, and I love, as I mentioned to you guys, she got scholarship to UCLA as a jazz vocal performer. Not somebody I would ever consider an athlete, and yet, me as a former football player at UCLA, and her as someone who could hardly throw a tennis ball, we're both able to go out on the pickleball court and rally and have a lot of fun. So one of the things I love about the sport is the entry to play isn't super significantly high. People could play from any kind of background, fitness or athletic level. I remember my very first duper match. I played against someone who's probably twice my age, and I wouldn't say nearly the fitness level of me, and yet he beat me up something fierce. So I love that about the game. It's great competition, and you can continue to get better and better at it.
So you mentioned a little bit about your football career, right? And you played very competitively through high school. You got recruited, you went to UCLA. Tell us a little bit about what that experience was like. And then you kind of had a pretty big injury, didn't you?
I sure did. Yeah. Well, this is actually kind of a full circle story. Just behind where this camera is, I'm looking at some pictures. There's two autographs kind of above and below, one of Andre Agassi and one of Pete Sampras below that. And in the corner of each, there's a photograph of my father, myself, and Andre when I was a kid. I was probably 11 years old. And then the one with Pete Sampras is one of Pete and I. But that was actually taken, or both of those photos that are framed there were taken at UCLA. And I won't forget this. I was with my father, who was, working with the Davis Cup team. And as we walked in, the guys that were working security for, I believe at the time it was called the Mercedes-Benz Cup at UCLA, were football players that were there over the summer training, getting ready for fall camp. And they got summer jobs working security for this tennis tournament. It was the very first year that I decided to play football. My father says to them, he goes, my son, he's kind of an athlete. He just started playing football. You ought to, talk to him a little bit. These guys were kind enough and fun, small world. They took me into the locker room there, and that was the very first time that I saw John Wooden's Pyramid of Success. And reading each, wow. Are either of the two of you familiar with?
Yeah.
With yes, yeah.
I mean, the illustration was amazing. Each block encompassing one, term that he used with a definition underneath it, and you can't have any block on top of that without first solidifying the foundation, working your way up all the way to the top cornerstone, which is competitive greatness. Be at your best when your best is needed, and having enjoyment of a difficult challenge. I saw that, and I remember thinking to myself, I want to play football here when I'm old enough. And in any event, I was blessed with an opportunity to go to UCLA to play football, and it was hilarious. My freshman year, when we were playing the USC, our crosstown rivals, I was walking out of the tunnel and onto the field, and I ran into Robert Thomas and Freddie Mitchell, who were the guys who took me into the locker room in the first place. I came back as alumni. I said, "Hey guys, you remember me?" And they did. So it was wow. It was a full circle situation. I was there for ProBand with my father, and I suppose also, he was there to treat the tennis players as well. But by that time, ProBand had been off and running. And but make a long story short, I was competing hard. I love great competition. I love being better than I was 5 minutes ago, or at least working towards that as much as I can, pushing the people around me to be better than they were 5 minutes ago, and always working to challenge themselves to grow and to improve. It's, that John Wooden philosophy. And anyway, when I was going into our spring season, is what we called it, where we had inter team scrimmages and very competitive practices as though we were in the season. Just before that, we had spring break, and as football players at the collegiate level, I think we had an aggregate of maybe a month off the entire year. We were pretty much training year round, practicing most of the year as a team, whether it was sanctioned by coaches or team run practices, what we used to call voluntary practices, where you had to volunteer to be there. But
but you better be there.
Right.
Exactly right. If you like playing football, you'll be there, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, I for spring break, I went back home to Santa Barbara, and rather than taking it easy, I was training twice a day. I was running stadiums at the Santa Barbara City College until it got to the point where it was challenging to even stand without shaking. And I remember, I'd even put my foot on the gas to drive, and my leg would be shaking. So I'd fill up a trash can filled with ice and water, immerse myself in it for 20 minutes, let my body thaw out, and then I'd go hit the weight room just to make sure that I stayed on top of my game and could compete the highest level that I was capable of going into spring ball. And I have to say, it all came together. I was in the best shape of my life. I was, very explosive and strong, and had worked my way up the depth chart to the starting running back, only to blow my knee out the next day. And It was so tough. We had AstroTurf or a turf field, which unfortunately doesn't have very much give in it. And the move that I was doing was a common one where I'd fake, out to the right. I would turn my hips and my shoulders in that direction to influence the linebacker to open up his hips. And what I would do is I would do what's called a swim move to get right underneath him, and I'd be wide open as running an option as a running back. And on this one play, my cleat stuck right into the turf. So rather than pivoting on the ball of my foot, all of that force went into my knee and it just twisted and pushed out. Remember hearing a pop, but yet I got up. We both fell down. He actually fell in the direction I was faking him to, and I fell in the direction I was trying to cut in,
no.
and I got up, caught the ball, ran it, into the end zone. But I remember coming back. I'm like, man, I think something's wrong with this. And I mentioned something to an athletic trainer. I said, hey, my knee's hurting. He's like, you're probably fine. So I finished the rest of practice, but I couldn't cut to my left very well. The next day, I take the first rep in practice and I cut off of my right knee. And as I'm running back, the trainer says to me, hey, Justin, is everything you're all right? Your face is a little bit blemished. You're looking a little bit purple. And I said, man, my knee is killing me. And I pulled up my pant leg. It was the size of a volleyball. So they pulled me from practice that day. We got an MRI done. We saw the destruction that had occurred in there. And a week later went in for surgery at UCLA. And unfortunately, it wasn't a successful one. So a couple weeks. So I started the rehab process. A couple weeks later, I had another surgery. And at that time, they suggested that for longevity and based off of the severity of the injury, I should consider medically retiring, which I did do. And then about a year later or so, it's December 15th of 2009, my father did bilateral surgery, and on one of them did a full knee reconstruction. And I was optimistic that would be it. And fast forward a few months, I'm still walking with severe pain in my knee. It's a bit demoralizing, as you guys, I'm sure, well know, when you're dealing with ailments, and it's part of our mission here at ProBand to help people prevent injuries, and if they do have an injury, to help them recover as quick as possible so they can continue to do the things that they love. But to make a long story short, I remember one day I put on the first generation Need It and felt immediate relief going up and down stairs. I was just blown away, Greg.
Yeah.
And
the stairs is what I noticed the biggest difference. When I walk down the stairs with the Need It on versus off, it's like night and day.
Well, that's the active decompression you get from it. All of our products harness your body's own anatomical movements to decompress the area that it's on and to create a pumping mechanism using your own body's movements with our products. So it helps pump out inflammation at the same time. But I just between using our Need It and having resolved to strengthen my legs, I found myself playing pickup basketball at the John Wooden Center. And I'd already graduated from school, but I had a few more classes to finish up to get the degree that you see behind me here from UCLA. And so I was there in August doing a 6-week semester or quarter, if you will. And I'm in the John Wooden Center playing pickup basketball, and Rick Neuheisel, who was the football coach at the time, walks in with his young son, who was probably 10 or 11 years old, to shoot 3-pointers. And he saw me in there. He goes, Justin, you look like you're in great shape. How have you been? And I said, good. I'm just a week away from finishing up my last classes, and I'm going to be heading off into the real world. And he goes, how's your knee? And I sprung up and I dunked a basketball, and he goes, holy mackerel. I'm only like 5'11" on a good day. So I just to put things into perspective, had some spring in my step at that point in time. Today, I'd imagine I'd be lucky if I got 2 inches off the ground. But he called me the next day and he said, hey, we had a running back transfer. We need a guy who has your skill set. I don't know how we would make it happen, but I just need to know, would you even consider that? I fell back in my seat just thinking, what a blessing to be able to go out on my own terms to help this team compete at a high level. And I said, Coach, without a doubt, what do I need to do? He goes, I don't know. Meet me at 6 a.m. in my office. I didn't sleep all night. I got to his office. We went through a physical, which I passed, fortunately, and I was on the field that night, and was fortunate. I Had an unbelievable time that season with my teammates in the locker room, out on the field. Was voted by them as the most inspirational player that year. So I just feel really blessed and grateful to have had that entire experience. I can appreciate adversity because it helps build the character, through those time periods. And I feel, all the way around, every day I thought to myself, what am I going to do to get better today when I was playing football? And I'd have a list of action items in my head. And then at the end of the day, I would, put myself in check. I would audit myself. I'd say, did I accomplish those goals, and how did I accomplish it? Almost playing it back visually in my own mind. And then I would set the bar for the next day and reinforce it when I first woke up. And so having the rug pulled out from underneath you when all you think about and focus on is trying to be the best football player you could be. I then took that mindset and I applied it across the board. How can I be a better brother, a better son, a better friend, a better student, so on and so forth. So I would say, when you have to go through hell, be grateful that you have the legs to get you through it, right?
Yeah.
What an incredible story, truly. Yeah. And congratulations to you for being able to get back out there and on the field. I think we should do our third toast to that. So you have mentioned 2 different bands that you have, and Uncle wears them all. Or should I say both of them? But you have the Bandit, which goes around the forearm, and the Need It, which goes around the knee. And actually, I think I had the first generation of the Need It when I was playing softball. I was having some really bad knee pain, and my mom at the time worked at an orthopedic office, and they recommended that brace to me, and it totally helped. So thank your dad, because it was probably him at the time. But it truly did help with softball and soccer as well. So it kept me in the game for sure. But
awesome.
Can you tell
I'm thrilled to hear that, Brigie.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about the different bands that you offer?
Yeah. So we have the original, I guess it was a second iteration of the original Bandit. Now we improved the design of it. So we have the Bandit and the Need It, which were both invented at different times. Actually, the Need It was invented initially for Mark Philipposis. I don't know if you guys remember him as a great tennis player, and I think he's now a coach, if I'm not mistaken. And then my father invented the next generation, which is the Need It XM and Bandit XM, which have 2 very powerful magnetic heads pointed at negative poles pointed at one another. And his theory or hypothesis behind using very powerful magnetic poles, especially the negative heads pointed towards one another, is, inflammation in its own right is a very chaotic event. And having 2 powerful magnetic poles not only may potentially get deeper into the fascia, but it actually brings, it takes that chaos and makes it less chaotic quicker. So we found through trials and wearing the second generation products, oftentimes people who had severe inflammation or arthritis found greater efficacy in helping to allow them to recover quicker from those ailments.
So I got.
And then we also have and then we also have the Ankle Bandit as well, which was, I guess, his 5th invention. Those have 2 adjustable contoured pads that fit right underneath your ankle bones on either side. So that also helps with active decompression. Every time you extend your foot and then dorsiflex, you get that pumping mechanism, but it also decompresses the tibial head or the ankle bones in that joint. So each one of our products is designed for a different part of your body, but each one of them has anatomically focused dynamic compression that decompresses that area of your body and works with your own body's movements to pump out inflammation right at their source.
So I got to tell this quick story. You were generous enough to send me a Need It, and you sent Brigie a Bandit. Okay, Brigie lives in Vegas. I live up in Northern California, so I didn't get a chance to try the Bandit, but the Kneaded worked so well. Like immediately, I couldn't imagine like how much of a difference it made. On the court, off the court, walking up the stairs made a huge difference. Brigie had scheduled a trip to come up and visit me, and we're going to play a little pickleball. We're going to do a bunch of stuff, family stuff together and stuff. And
Love
I
it.
said, you got to bring the Bandit with you because I want to try it out because I'm experiencing some discomfort when I'm playing, right? And
Brigie, did
especially
he
for
take your
carpal tunnel.
Bandit?
Well,
He almost
hey,
did.
here's the story. Here's the story, Justin. She brings it up. I put it on, and Brigie and I were like, with family, and immediately I go, I'm gonna pick up this pot of water that normally was hurting me from carpal tunnel. I have carpal tunnel syndrome from working and stuff like that. I put the Bandit on.
Sure.
I picked
Yeah.
up this pot of water. Nothing. No pain. I like Bridgie's smiling because she remembers the expression on my face. This is amazing. I'm not hurting.
It literally just like that. It was so funny. We were all in the kitchen and he's like, oh my gosh. And we all turn and look at him and he's holding this pot of water and he's like, I picked it up and there was zero pain.
I got to tell you, I've got a smile literally from cheek to cheek here. Greg, having had my own experience with the Kneaded itself and putting that on, and when I was doing powerlifting, I'd get I get both carpal tunnel and lateral epicondylitis, also known as more commonly as tennis elbow or pickleball elbow. And basically, if you have tennis elbow, you want to have the logo kind of more on the inside, and if you have carpal tunnel, you want to move it a little, maybe an inch out a little bit, just you kind of twist it out a little bit. But I've had that exact same feeling and that look on my own face. And I have to say, all of us at ProBand, every single time, it never gets old. That's what keeps us going, keeps us so passionate about helping people, is exactly that experience you had. It brings so much joy to us to know that we're that impactful, because that's what we're doing. We're trying to be as impactful as we can and helping other people.
Well, you are, and no matter how much I wanted to try to steal it from Brigie, she says, "Uncle, you're not
I
taking
need
this."
it.
She wanted it. She needed it. She has her own issues with her arm. So immediately I went out and I just ordered one. So I got my own. Brigie's got her own, and I started wearing it immediately. It's like, even though you were so generous to send us, and I know if I asked you, you probably would have sent me one for my elbow as well, or my wrist as well.
Absolutely.
But I'm like, no, I'm just buying it. This is worth it. I'm going out and buying it. I liked it
Hey,
so
thank
much,
you.
Justin, that I went out and bought a second one.
There you go. I love it. So you
And
got the original and the XM.
I got the original, and the original is for my left arm because I'm teaching myself how to mouse left-handed to relieve my carpal tunnel on my right side. Even though the band helps and fantastic when I wear it while I'm working on the right side, I figured, you know what? It's good for my brain. It's good for my body. I'm going to teach myself how to mouse left-handed. So I'm not going to risk it. I'm getting myself a bandit for both sides.
Hey, that's amazing. And you're really smart about that. Oftentimes people don't come to us unless they already have an issue. And one of the missions that we have is to try to go out and educate and inform people of actions or motions. Like, something as simple as literally using a mouse. You could develop, carpal tunnel from doing that. You don't necessarily need to be doing Olympic lifting or, playing hours of pickleball every day. People, get these ailments from just driving excessively, truckers or I commute, about an hour and a half every single day, and I throw my products on as we're driving along, and so that's amazing. I'm glad to hear that you're doing that, and you're basically empirically treating something you might be susceptible to because of it. So that's really smart of you, Greg, to have taken the initiative to do that. I'm honored that you took the initiative and actually purchased it on our own website.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
I wasn't gonna let him take mine because as he mentioned, I too get some elbow pain myself from playing pickleball. But I did have a
Awesome.
question for you. So
Sure.
when I am using this this brace of sort, am I supposed to only be wearing it while I'm doing the activity, or is this something that I should be wearing on a daily basis to help with the ailments?
So it depends on the severity of it, Bridgie. If you're solid when you take it off, and after you're done playing, you could probably just leave it off. I wear my products, and I just like Uncle Greg here. If you see me out mowing the lawn on Saturdays, I've got a kneaded on both knees and a banded on both forearms. And just like I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, I went out and played pickleball with my wife, and we were just dinking and really light rally, nothing serious. But I didn't wear my kneaded there, and about an hour later, I had a flare up of inflammation just underneath my kneecap. So I guess I say all of this, and if you know you're going to do an activity, just like Greg had mentioned, he's teaching himself to mouse with his left hand, so he got a bandit for his left arm. He's kind of empirically treating the ailment before it comes on. So it's very good for preventative measures because the active decompression and the functional relief that you get from it. But if you're good to go and you don't have any pain after you're done playing, go ahead and take it off. If you feel a little bit of pain, wear it until it steals it from you. But one of my father's first taglines for the bandit is "It steals the pain." So, so yeah, you could wear it. My wife, sometimes because she does so much texting and emailing through the course of her day, sometimes she sleeps with it on. So it really is entirely up to you and your level of comfort, the level of pain that you may or may not be in. So it's at your discretion. What I recommend is wear it until the pain's gone, and then take it off, and then make sure you're wearing it doing the activities that you're susceptible to getting inflammation or flare-ups.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I got to share a quick story with you, Justin. So you mentioned magnets earlier, and a couple of your products have magnets in them. And this is when I was in the golf industry. I had golf stores, and we had a golf net set up in our stores. We would custom fit people to come in for their clubs. And this vendor came in one day out of the blue, and he says, "I got these magnets, and they're foot pads, and you put them into your shoe, and it'll increase your swing speed and your strength, stuff like that." So this was 25 years ago, something like that. It was a long time ago. I had never heard of the magnet technology at that time. And what he did was he did a test. And my wife, Brigie's auntie, was with me when he was doing this test. And he says, "Hold out your arm, hold out straight, hold my arm straight out." And he asked my wife to push down with one finger to try to press it down. And she would easily press my arm down. It would immediately go down, right? Then he put these magnet foot pads in my shoes. I put them back on. I hold my arm straight out, and my wife, he goes, push down. She couldn't budge my arm. And
That's
I'm
amazing.
like, what? I'm like so I like, how does this work? I couldn't believe it. And then he was trying to go through this explanation. And so the next thing I did was I knew how fast I would swing a golf club. And with the magnets in my shoes, I swung, and it was 5 miles an hour faster than my
Wow.
typical swing. I wasn't trying any harder. It was immediately 5 miles per hour faster. And I was like, okay, there is definitely something into the technology of the magnets. And you kind of explained it earlier. So my
Yeah.
question to you is, obviously there's something there. When should somebody buy the magnet bands from you versus the ones without the magnets?
So yeah, functionally, they both harness anatomically focused dynamic compression. So it's a very good question. Generally, if your inflammation is more acute or severe, I'd highly recommend using our second generation products, our XM products that have the two very powerful magnetic negative poles pointing at one another. If you're arthritic, any kind of ailments that have repetitive stress injuries that have taken years to accumulate, that's where I would kind of step it up a notch. But if you're working, wearing it for preventative measures, actually, Greg, your intuition was right on point. The first generation Bandit and Need It should be just fine, because you're going to get the active decompression and the functional relief from those products to help prevent from carpal tunnel or tennis elbow or runner's knee, jumper's knee, stuff like that.
Thank
So
you.
with all of this magnet technology, and Uncle's probably got magnets all over his bedroom now, but are there any side effects of wearing magnets?
No, not that we're aware of. So the second generation products have been in the market for over 20 years now, and we have been, for the last, I think, 6 years, awarded the top physiotherapy and orthopedic solutions provider in the United States for what we do. So we're thrilled to have backing, and just as you had mentioned, Brigie, we recently have really targeted more the athletic space and tried to really elevate, our brand awareness, company awareness, what we do to the consumer. But we started off working with athletes, and we shifted as a company where we basically worked with orthopedic association groups, athletic trainers, physical therapists, chiropractors. I mean, you name it. We went just straight medicine, and now we're also trying to expand back into the sports space again, where we're educating direct to the consumer, so you don't necessarily need to go to your doctor and have them explain to you why, when you're playing softball when you were younger, why you would need that brace. You could get it just from our website. You could get it from our targeted ads on social media. Like I said, everything we try to do is educate and inform people of actions or movements or activities that they could be doing that our products could help prevent ailments from. And if they happen to have an acute inflammatory event in any of those body parts, we're here with our second generation products to help get them back and recovered as quickly as possible.
I know you're focusing on sports, and trust me, I I would not be on the courts without your products right now. Literally, I would be in too much pain without your products. So thank you.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Greg.
Well, the other thing is like, for my carpal tunnel, which has nothing to do with sports. I had carpal tunnel before I started playing pickleball and stuff, and it's helping
Sure.
me with my carpal tunnel. So it's allowing me to perform at work better, not just on the courts better. Besides
Sure.
carpal tunnel, are there other non-sports related ailments that you feel that the products will help?
Yeah, so for the forum in particular, and you could go to to any of your listeners here, they could go to our website, proband.com. There's an extensive, oftentimes people say there's way too much information there. My whole point is, let's make sure there's as much information as anyone wants to dive into to learn more about different ailments and how our products work. But yeah, you get golfer's elbow, which is called medial epicondylitis. It's on the inside of the elbow. And in fact, I was not too long ago, Brigie, I was in Vegas myself for a convention, actually, for my wife. And she came down to a pickleball tournament, a PPA tournament in Newport to support our efforts at ProBand. And we flew right from that to Las Vegas, and I was there to help support her as well. And I was talking to one of her colleagues, and he goes, "Man, I got this stupid thing called golfer's elbow." And I was like, "Yeah, I know a lot about it." And I said, I happen to own and operate the company that is recognized as the #1 physiotherapy and orthopedic solutions provider for ailments just like that. And so he came by our office in Santa Barbara, and I put it on him, but and he got almost immediate relief from it. And over the course of, I think, about 3 weeks, he called me back. He goes, "I don't even have to wear this thing anymore. It's completely gone." But so you got lateral and medial epicondylitis and carpal tunnel. Those are and any sort of tendonitis in that area. The Bandit XM are going to be very helpful, not only in preventing it, but helping you recover. For the knee, osteoarthritis, patellar tendinopathy, also known as jumper's knee, chondromalacia, also known as runner's knee, meniscus issues, just general degradation of the cartilage that is in your knee that helps with padding there. You get the active decompression and the functional relief from those products in that area. And then It's also been used. This is kind of off label, but we've have heard over more times than I can imagine people dealing with like Osgood slaughter where are needed, and that is super helpful for them as well. And then our ankle bandit is very, very effective for chronic ankle sprains, ankle arthritis, general inflammation in that area. It helps pump out that inflammation, which and decompresses the area. So, I kind of laid out a solid list of ailments there. I don't want to get too into the weeds on it. I don't want to bore your listeners here, but yeah, they're fantastic at what they do, and I'm just, I'm so passionate about helping folks like yourselves every single day that it's just such a pleasure, and it's an honor to be able to be, here on the other side of the camera, helping, folks like yourselves out.
Well, Justin, you've been incredibly informative, and I'm sure all of our listeners are going to take something away from this conversation. I know that you just mentioned it, but can you please share with us the website one more time if people are wanting to find more information or order their own ProBand?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's proband.com, and we also are very active on social media. Our handle is at ProBand Sports, both on Instagram and on Facebook. So we'd love to have a like and a follow there if anyone has those social media platforms.
Well, thank you so much, Justin, for joining us today.
It's my pleasure, Greg and Brigie. Thank you guys so much for being wonderful hosts and for having me on your show.
Welcome anytime.
Yeah,
Sounds
and thank you
good.
for keeping me on the courts, truly.
Yes.
Pickleball brings so much joy to my life. So to be, taken off the courts because of an injury or ailments that I've had, you've brought happiness to my life and your product. So thank you.
Well,
Truly.
Greg, it's my pleasure. And I think you may have seen, a few months ago, just about every publication from the Wall Street Journal to the New York Times published articles talking about the medical costs of pickleball being almost $500 million is what they estimated in 2023. So it's very much, I think the biggest threat to pickleball isn't the enthusiasm. It's not courts, it's not equipment, it's injuries. And so we're here to try to make sure we knock those numbers down.
Well, you're doing your part. So again, thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
And thank you, listeners, for joining us on Third Shot, where Brigie and I will continue to share our pickleball journey. Real special thanks to Justin Farid for joining us today and keeping us on the courts. If you're having any ailments at all, elbows, wrists, knees, ankles, please check out ProBand Sports on their website, proband.com, Instagram, Facebook, ProBand Sports. And please support this show by subscribing. We promise to have more amazing guests just like Justin in the future. Let's continue to share our enjoyment for the game and grow this pickleball community. See you next time on Third Shot Podcast.